I really don't even think there's a thing as meant to be anymore. I just believe it's what you decide to be clear about and create. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Shanelle. Thank you for joining me. So I wanted to do this video for people who are struggling with manifesting. I'm a person who's growing in manifestation myself, and it's not always clean, you know what I mean? You see the title of this video, my messy manifestation, because it's like I got what I wanted, but what it took for me to get there was stress. It didn't work out perfectly. It wasn't clean. It was messy. And so I really wanted to talk to you guys about the things that I went through to make that happen. So maybe you guys can connect with me, and you know, if you're going through something, just to keep persevering. And it's given me the confidence to be able to do that. So let's talk about this. So one of my closest and dearest friends got married, and was getting married at the time. And I wanted to be there to support her. She's been an amazing friend for me since, for God knows how long, like 15 years. And I wanted to be there in that special moment. And I was worried I wasn't going to be able to make it work, because earlier on in the year, I went to my baby cousin. She's not a baby. But my baby cousin's wedding in England. I'll throw up some clips from that up here. And I was still trying to figure out how to finish paying for that before I could get to this wedding, but time went by so fast. So that wedding happened in mid-April, and I got back the end of May, and after that it was just like money was not trying to stretch. It was just like one bill after the next, and I was just completely behind every month, and work was slow, and I was just stressed out. So she kept asking me, "You coming? Are you coming?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm coming. I'm just trying to make that work." And everything I tried to make more money was not happening. My businesses wasn't moving forward the way I wanted it to move forward, and I just was like trying to catch up all the time, right? So I asked her, I finally broke down and was just like, is there somebody who needs a roommate, right? We're going to Costa Rica. Things are expensive. Place we're going is pricey. I'm like, is there anybody who wants to share? So she was like, okay, let me go check. So I waited a couple of weeks, didn't hear anything back. Then she thought one of her friends coming from Australia might need a roommate, but then they were coming with somebody else. So that doesn't work out, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll just have to save up the money. There's this app called Affordable. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of it, but if you want to split up your plane flight, you can do that in increments, I think like every 2 weeks. Or you can spread it out even further, like over a 6-month period and whatnot, with a down payment up front. And so I was like, okay, I could split up my flight amount through Affordable. But what am I going to do about this hotel? Because that's really where the chunk of the money was coming from. Thankfully, the plane tickets were really affordable. I ended up getting my ticket for like $575 with Delta. It was just really great, because some people paid $1,000 out of it. Tight! Anyway, so I was like, okay, that's cool. What am I going to do about this hotel? So everything I was seeing was like, book now, pay later. And most people were staying at the Marriott. The Marriott was like $2 something each night, right? I was like, that's just too much. And I wasn't finding anything that was like a split up payment for the hotel. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to make that money. But no matter what I did to save this money, it just kept getting worse. And I think that was because I kept focusing on the problem. And so I just kept getting more problems, even to the point where it's like I got 3 parking tickets in the space of a month. I rarely get parking tickets. So I was like, I was really frustrated with that, because it was like adding extra bills to take care of, right? Eventually we get down to 2 weeks before the trip, and I start thinking, okay, what am I gonna do? I started listening to a lot more Neville Goddard recordings. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this imagination thing. I was trying it for a bunch of different things, and I was like, okay, I need to focus on this trip. So focus in on the trips, and I focused in on the trip and seeing myself laying down, or feeling, not just seeing myself, feeling myself laying down in my bed in the hotel room in white sheets, and it's tight and it's comfortable, and hearing crickets outside from being in like a country environment, an island type of environment, and just being comfortable, feeling the AC in the room, and being happy that I'm in Costa Rica. I was seeing myself from Costa Rica and not from here wanting to be in Costa Rica. So I was doing that every night, but I also had the daily stress of being worried about money still seeping in, right? So you're dealing with both those energies, and they're competing against each other. And so no matter how much they competed against each other, I just kept persevering. So yeah, 2 weeks before the trip, Nicole's aunt asked me, what's going on? You coming? Like, what's up? And I was just telling her, like, I was just worried about the money and if I was going to be able to make it work. And, you know, she's also very much into manifestation and everything. And she just kept pushing me, like, to get rid of that fear and whatnot, and to focus on making that happen, which was what I needed. You need to keep people around you who are like-minded, of course. About 10 days before the trip, Nicole hits me and says, Allison's coming, she's looking for a roommate. Amazing, perfect timing. So I start talking to Allison, we start talking about rooms and what days we want to go and whatnot. And we looked at a hotel that was closer to where Nicole was staying. It was like 10 minutes away, but it wasn't the nicest, and it didn't include breakfast every day. And it just wasn't, it didn't feel like it was going to be a comfortable stay. And most people were staying at the Marriott. So we're looking at the Marriott, we're thinking we're splitting the price, but even with that, it still was going to be like $1,000 each. And I couldn't see how I was going to make that work and be able to pay my other bills, right? So I start going into panic mode again. I was like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? And instead of saying, I can't, I now say, okay, how can I, right? So how can I? And I won't stop searching until I find a solution, right? So I remembered, like, when they first sent out the packages, the information, should I say, for the trip, they sent us a bunch of hotels, and I had the tabs open. I have a gazillion tabs open on my computer. It's terrible right now. But I still had the tab open from one of the hotels, and I went on it, and I saw that it was the price of the cheap hotel that we didn't like without breakfast, but closer to the standard of the Marriott Crux Resort and Casino, right? And it was like 10 minutes from the Marriott. And I was like, this is the perfect solution because it brings the price down. And we're close to the Marriott and whatnot. So take it to Allison. Allison's happy with that. We don't have to sacrifice any days. Great. And I asked Nicole, like, is there any issue with this hotel? Like, is there any reason why we shouldn't book this? She's like, no. It's like, it was one of the hotels on the list. So I'm like, okay, great. So we planned to book that hotel. So I'm looking at my notes because I have to remember the order of the way these things happen, right? Okay, so I'm like, okay, I just need a couple more days to save up to make that hotel purchase, right? While that's happening, I decide to book my flight because I was like, there was like one seat left on this plane, and it was like direct, and you know, everything else was one stop and taking it. You know, I hate stopping on flights. You know what that's like. So I was like, I have to get on this plane. So I book the Delta flight. That's taken care of. So I'm like, okay, once the Delta flight's booked, and the way I did it was PayPal split in 4. So the reason I ended up doing the PayPal split in 4, because when I went back to Airfordable, I was too close to the date of my flight, and apparently you have to pay everything ahead of time before getting on your flight, which I didn't see that anywhere in the notes, but okay. Right, I didn't see that anywhere in the notes, so I panicked, realized that I could do PayPal split in 4. I was like, great, I can do PayPal split in 4. Done. So now I'm like, okay, I have enough money to pay for this. I have money for my bills and this, that, and the other. We can work that out. Next, the hotel, right? And I'm working every day, y'all. I'm working every day to make sure I got this money, right? So after that, then I make sure I had enough money. The money from working at that point started to roll in. Like, I'm making more money every day and everything's good. So I book the hotel and I'm like, great. So I go work the next day, 15 hours after I book the hotel on the Sunday. I get a text from Chase saying payment declined because of fraud. So they think the charge for the hotel was a fraudulent payment, right? So I'm like, oh God, here we go. So I try to call Chase. Apparently now Chase is closed on Sunday. So I can't get through to anybody. And they're like, if it's not fraud, you have to go back and rebook. So I go back to rebook. Do you know that the hotel price is now $80 more expensive than it was originally? So I'm pissed. Because now, like, the money that me and Allison had agreed on and the room amount has now gone up. And I'm like, okay, great. Chase, you screwed me. So I'm calling Chase and I'm like, you guys have to fix this because now you've cost me $8. So they're like, oh, you have to wait till it's not pending anymore and then maybe we can help you out. Okay, great. So then after that, I find out about another ticket that I've gotten. And at the time, I spoke to that fucking guy. He told me he wasn't going to give me a ticket and then he sent it in the mail. Piece of shit. You're a piece of shit if you ever see this video, just so you know. But anyway, besides that, then I see a return charge. Not a return charge, but a payment declined for one of my side cards. So to book my plane ticket, I used my card that I don't use regularly. I had a little bit of money in there, but I had enough to make the first payment for my plane ticket, which was in the pay in full. So it rejected the payment, and I was like, well, why would it reject the payment? Because it's split in four. When I go to look, they've charged me for the whole amount, and I was like, well, why would they do that? When I tell you, I saw the split amount, so I knew how much it was gonna take out of my account every time they did it. So I was like, why the hell did it decide to just throw the payment away? So I'm like going to complete panic mode, like, oh my God, they're gonna take back my ticket. This isn't gonna work. Oh my God, am I even supposed to go on this trip? I already told her I was coming. Like, I at this point, I'm in tears, like, because I'm just already frustrated. I've been so focused. I've done everything I could to get to this point to be able to go on this trip, and it just seems like everything's trying to block me from going. And I'm like, is it even meant to be for me to go, right? So I call PayPal the next day. I'm crying on the phone. I'm like, can somebody help me? I just want to do the paying for. They gave me that number. When I spoke to the first lady, she was like, I can see that it was paying for, and I don't know what happened for it to switch, but we got to put you through to the paying for people, right? So he tells me they can't see that, and because it's done a certain way in the system, they can't change anything. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I still have to go, like, I have to go on this trip. I can't get another flight, this and the other. And they were like, well, you need to call Delta and tell them and then do the payment again. And I'm like, there ain't no way. Ain't no way, ain't no way, ain't no way, because I'm not losing that ticket. I'm not losing that ticket. So eventually he just tells me, well, the PayPal's going to try a couple more times, and then it's just going to be negative, that the ticket amount on your PayPal account, and then you're just going to have to pay it back. But you're not going to be able to use PayPal until you finish paying that back. And I was like, well, that's just going to have to be what it is then. And then I realized that if I knew, for whatever reason, the paying for didn't work, I don't know if it was something, I don't know what reason the paying for didn't work, right? But I realized that if I knew when it first happened that it wasn't going to work, I wouldn't have booked my hotel, and we wouldn't have taken any of the steps forwards that I took. So I was like, no, I'm really meant to go on this trip. Yeah, it's happening in a way that's really a mess, and it's very stressful, but I'm supposed to be there, right? So I was like, listen, I can even use that money that's left in the account as a backup just in case anything goes wrong. So I was like, okay, I can go through this trip and actually feel relaxed about being able to take part and have a good time with my friend and everybody who's there and whatnot. So it actually worked out in the end, and I had plenty of money to get around and do everything we were doing and enjoy the excursions. And towards the end, when I was running out of cash, I got another payment of money that was helpful for me to get through the end of the trip and also pay bills that was at home. So it ended up working out really great. The trip was so memorable. It was so beautiful. I had such a great time. I learned so much, so many things, and it even was healing for me in so many ways. It's like I can't even explain to you like the certain situations that went down, and it was just really special to be able to celebrate that moment with my friend and be with like people who are like family to me. And I was just so grateful to like go through that. Allison was amazing. I was so grateful to be able to share with her, and just being in that bed and being like, this is exactly what I imagined. The white sheets, feeling tight in it, that the AC and everything, and just feeling so beautiful and confident in myself in that space, and was able to just really enjoy that, you know? I hope that made sense because I'm just talking off the cuff right now. But yeah, hopefully you can see my tan. I feel great. I'm super happy. I'm back to real life, and now I'm trying to figure out how to adjust to that again, but then also take what I learned from this experience and, you know, clean it up, make it better, more improved, and really master the whole manifestation process using my imagination. And that's a powerful Neville Goddard technique, but it really comes together when you have that clarity and the confidence in believing in that. So here's some points I've taken from Neville Goddard in regards to working with your imagination. So truth depends on the intensity of imagination, not upon facts. When you change your assumption of someone or something, their behavior will change. The two that must agree are your inner conversation and stated desire. The only price you pay for success is giving up of your former conversation. So for me, besides meditation, I know that what I had to work on was my inner conversation and imagination. And the two go together so well, so perfectly. But if your inner conversation is always doubting you, you're gonna have problems like the problems I had. So Neville always says test. And this was the test. And hopefully this is a message for you and helping you be able to test it for yourself and get some great manifestation results, right? So this is where I'm gonna end the video. I feel like I just babbled on for a good half hour, so hopefully it makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know, and let me know your experiences. I love when you guys share with me. Thank you so much, and until next time, bye. Look at my tan, y'all. Shoulders, yo.